Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to another edition of the Luxury Presence panel. It's June. It's 2025. There's a lot happening in the world right now, but you are here with us, and that makes me extremely happy. My name is Chris Linsell. I'm the director of content here at Luxury Presence, and I will be your guide through this incredible conversation. Today, we are focusing on the billion-dollar routine, how to scale culture, discipline, and how to do it in such a way that your team doesn't just stop, but continues to grow. And we have an incredible example focused conversation to help lead us on the way. The Spears Group is in the house. Two members of the Spears Group are in the house. Jonathan Spears and Maria Coukoulis, are here to talk to us about how they built a $2 billion plus business. And spoiler alert, it wasn't by throwing an incredible amount of money at the wall. It wasn't by working 100-hour weeks until people fell off their chairs from exhaustion. It was about being smart and doing the right things over and over and over. But you don't want to hear this from me. Let's get right into it. We've got some people on the screen I want to introduce you to. First, Jonathan Spears, founder of the Spears Group, one of the youngest agents in the United States to cross the billion-dollar in sales mark. Jonathan, we've got a little over 400 people here that want to see and hear from you. Can you say hello to everybody? Tell us a little bit more about yourself.
I love it. Thanks, Chris. Hello, everyone. My name is Jonathan Spears. We're broadcasting from the beautiful Hamptons of the South, 30A, Florida. And I'm the team principal and founder of Spears Group. We're on this beautiful stretch of beach. I'm born and raised here. And it's funny, Chris said that I was, one of the youngest people to reach $1 billion in sales. I may be a bit of an overachiever. So if there's any other overachievers on the call, make sure to raise your hand. We're going to dig in and understand how we can grow our businesses today.
Love it. Love it. Yes. Overachievers, welcome here at Luxury Presence. We
100%.
we
Oh,
welcome everybody, but if you're here to play,
That's
we're here to
right.
play with you. Jonathan, you are part one, part two. Maria, Chief Operating Officer here at the Spears Group. I like to call you the architect behind this team's high performance engine. Would you mind saying hello to people? Introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit more about you.
yes, thank you so much. Hi, everybody. My name is Maria Coukoulis. I'm the Chief Operating Officer and Head of Public Relations for Spears Group here on the beautiful Hamptons of the South. I'm really excited to dig in with you guys today. And Chris really hit on the main thing that you'll see across the board with everything we say, and it's consistency. So we're really excited to dig in with y'all about how we've achieved what we have with Spears Group and to show you guys that it's obtainable for every single person on this call.
Oh, love it. Love it. And to round out the luxury presence of gruesome twosome, I have with me Laura McDonald, one of our all-star account executives. Laura, would you say hello to everybody?
Hello, everyone. My name is Laura McDonald. I've been at Luxury Presence for about 3.5 years, and I live in beautiful North Lake Tahoe in Incline Village.
Incredible. Laura's going to be on the call a little bit later, helping us understand how luxury presence can plug into the success that we want to position everybody in the industry and especially on this call to have. But let's not waste any more time. The topic today is the billion-dollar routine, how the Spears Group scaled culture and discipline and created a 2 billion plus dollar volume business. Let's dive right into it. Jonathan, I've heard you say that success follows consistency.
That's right.
That feels like a pretty it seems like a pretty basic statement, but something that is actually pretty difficult to implement. Can you tell me a little bit about how you managed to create a business pillar out of success follows consistency? What did that look like for your business?
Yeah, definitely. It's so interesting because I would say that that phrase may come off cliche, right? People ask me, like, what are core values of Spears Group? Our number one core value is to be excellent. And that really just means doing the right things over and over and over. And it may not be like the sexiest thing in the world to hear, man, we've got to, have repetition in our routine. Because if you're like me, you probably don't want to be very repetitious. You want to wake up, you've got big dreams, and you're like, okay, just like, how do I achieve them? And what I realized is I had to build my dreams into my calendar. And if I didn't build my dreams into my calendar, they probably weren't going to get done, because every day I wake up with a new set of things I want to do, a new goal, a new achievement. When I was 14, I actually started college. So one of the youngest people probably in the country to start college. And I had my first college degree by the age of 16, my second college degree at 18, going on 19. And it was like, okay, what next? And for me, real estate was meant to be like a temporary stepping stone. And so I got into the business and I was thinking, all right, I want to be like the $1 million listing guys, right? Like I'm young, I'm hungry. And I just saw so much opportunity from an entrepreneurial outlet, but I didn't fully understand what that meant. How do I get from like zero sales? At first I was selling foreclosures and short sales, very distressed properties. How could I go from that to like my passion, which was luxury real estate? And consistency played such an important role in my journey.
Mm. So I want to just pause for a second and let everybody know, make sure if you did not start college at the age of 14, don't worry. There is still a path to success here. Maria, I think I know the answer to this, but you had a driver's license when you started college, right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So Maria is like the rest of us. She's a civilian here. You were able, when you joined the Spears Group, to really take a lot of that mantra, success following consistency, and apply it at the most basic level. I mean, you started building the systems at the Spears Group with nothing more than Google Docs and Sheets. What problems were you looking to solve? What problems did you identify that had an opportunity for solutions when you joined the Spears Group, thinking about this consistency issue?
Yeah, absolutely. So when I came into Spears Group, I saw what Jonathan had built, and I was like, this is incredible. This young guy has had all of this success, but how do we make that success fall outside of just him? How can
Hmm.
we bring people into our ecosystem and say, hey, what Jonathan did, you're capable of doing as well, as long as you follow the systems and processes that we've put in place and take advantage of the brand that we have built. So that's really what I did was I sat down and I said, okay, what are the things that we need to do on a day-to-day basis that when somebody joins our team, they can immediately plug into? And I just started from ground zero. And when I figured out what that was, I built that up. And then every time somebody came into our organization, they had an immediate game plan of what they needed to do. And Jonathan always says it so well. I mean, we've literally brought people into our organization that had no experience and truly became millionaires from just following the process of what he taught. And I know so many times, like people hear that and they're like, oh, that seems far-fetched or it's not possible. But the reality of it is if you can plug in and you can give your team something consistent to hold on to and follow, you will have success. And I
Hmm.
think early on, I learned that in my career in public relations because I got to see a lot of these large organizations that did this exact same thing that started small and then were able to build to be multi-billion-dollar organizations. So I was like, if they can do it, why can't we do it in the real estate industry?
Hmm. So,
Hey, Chris, let
yeah.
me let me jump in because I want to set the stage for everybody. When Maria came in, it was circa 2022 full time. We started working together in 2020. Being in a Florida market, we saw a wealth migration that surpassed probably a decade's worth of sales in a very short amount of time.
Hmm.
Um, in 2020, we represented 265 million in sales volume. By 2021, we had doubled that. We were doing just about half a billion
Hmm.
just in 2022 alone. Let me tell everybody out here something very important. In 2021, I was a very seasoned agent. I've been in the business for a decade. At this point, I've been in the business. This is my 16th year. So it wasn't like I hadn't been doing this for a long time. I had systems, I had processes that I thought worked, and they worked for me. But what I didn't realize is that every dollar that I was earning, and you can do the math on a $500 million in sales, It's north of $10 million in commissions. Every dollar that I was earning was not a dollar that I was keeping in my pocket. I really didn't have a process for managing the business, and bringing on somebody that could help me understand and help me organize and help me in the areas that I was weak is really critical to our success and our growth. And so that was a time frame that Maria came in and started working with us, transitioning from, really, she was running our PR, and at the time she's getting us 1 billion plus impressions per year. Now she's surpassed that significantly. But for her skill set's so opposite of mine. And for anybody who's listening to this, if you're thinking, what's the next step? How do I go to that next level? I want you to think very hard about how you can collaborate with a talent that is not yours. You don't need 100 yous in your business. You really need to figure out, how do I bring in somebody who may help me take on adversity in a different way, or may look at things in a different manner. And for me, that's my Maria.
I love that. It's such a cogent point, because you actually kind of bring together two major takeaways from this first part of the conversation. The first is, there are so many opportunities to improve what you're doing, no matter what size of the team you're running, whether it's a solo operation or you're managing a dozen plus agents.
Right.
It is more about, there is more opportunity in understanding the systems necessary for you to create repeatable success than people realize. And two, part of understanding and establishing those systems is identifying where you are weak and admitting, not that you are bad at something, but that you have an opportunity to fill that with somebody who is strong. Now, I want to take that point and roll it forward into into a part of your business evolution where you're starting to grow, you're building agents onto your team. As people, both of you who are consistently successful independently, I have to imagine it was difficult not to micromanage every single person that came on board. I mean, you knew how to do it right. You want to be over the shoulder of every single agent. I bet you I'm wrong on this. Jonathan, give me your perspective. Are you a micromanager, or are you something else when it comes to building the success of your team?
That's a great question. Let me just say one more thing to our prior point. The best way to hold yourself accountable to your business is asking yourself this question every day. Ask yourself, am I waking up and operating as a hobbyist or a professional? And the best analogy I can give you is, and I'm in beautiful sunny Florida, right? We got to talk about golf. The hobbyist golfer just books around with the boys and maybe goes and hits a few balls and hits the driving range, and it's more casual. Most real estate agents, probably 99+%, they approach their business casually. They don't have an organizational process. And for us, and especially me, bringing on Maria and all the other incredible staff that we have today, it's really flipping your mindset from just being a producer to being a business owner. And from a professional lens, you wake up, you've got a routine, you're executing day in, day out, you're on the road, you're traveling, you're figuring out, how do I manage all of these things? And by the way, you can't manage it all, which is why my personality is not micromanage at all. In fact, Maria probably wishes I was more of a micromanager with some of our agents. But what I do is I allow my systems and my processes to be the ultimate micromanager. We create these mousetraps of sorts because our agents need and want the same things that we want. Sometimes we all get there differently. Our goal is to help create just enough structure for that salesperson mentality so that they can adhere to that and create ultimate levels of success.
Maria, as the creator of those systems, the systems that act as the manager, tell me a little bit about how you not only set up those systems, but also encourage the buy-in from your agents. I mean, the systems can't act as a manager unless people are actually using them. So what sort of incentives do you use to ensure that people are adhering to those systems?
Yeah, so I think that's the $1 million question for anybody that's in my role, is how do you get buy-in? And I'll be honest with you, at the beginning, I very much thought from an operator lens. I was like, okay, I'm at my computer all day. This is how I operate. So I'm going to build out systems that I think make sense. And as I started building them out and really sitting down and talking with Jonathan and talking to other agents, instead of figuring out, okay, what works for me, where can I meet people where they're at? Because I think a lot of times when you try to build out systems and processes for your team, you think about it from what works for you and not what works for everybody. So after kind of gathering that information and knowing we really wanted a very decentralized command, I didn't want it to be a thing where I had to call everyone and be like, hey, did you get this done? Did you get this done? So we started off by building out a lot of it within just our own making of like docs and sheets. And the more we started to see that, we were like, there is a hole in our industry to have a better system to be able to build out for people on how they can use it on a day-to-day basis to be able to get the information that they need in real time and then also be able to get that information faster than having to call me or call Jonathan. So today we're going to be talking about something that we actually built out that encapsulates all of this. So
Yeah.
main takeaways on what I wanted to drive home from what I just said is decentralized command. You cannot be the one that everybody comes to with questions because you'll burn out and then you'll never really get them to buy in because they know they can just always rely on you to ask those questions. And then two, one thing I always like to do from an incentive standpoint is in order to get paid, you have to fill out the stuff you need. I make it easy to fill out, but everyone loves to get paid. So that's my one trick of the trade for any operators on here is they got to get paid, so get them to finish out their processes.
I love that. By creating a gate through which the commissions flow that requires the necessary participation to unlock it. Yeah, you absolutely incentivize folks. It strikes me too, as I listen to the two of you talk about how you use systems to manage your business, there's a lot of wisdom here for solo agents as well. I mean,
Definitely.
I think that there is often an instinct, an incorrect instinct with real estate professionals to want to kind of address every single situation as if it was the first time you'd ever seen it, like you are reinventing the wheel,
Yep.
every single transaction, every single lead. But in doing so, you end up having to micromanage every single step of every single interaction and relationship that you ever have. And that is not only
Exhausting.
exhausting, that's a great
It's
word.
exhausting.
It's also, it limits the amount that you could scale your business as a solo operator. You would only have as much business as you have seconds on the clock.
Yep.
Do either of you have a perspective on that? If you're a solo agent and you want to take the wisdom that we're hearing here around building systems to power your success, how would you adjust your advice from team building to solo operation?
Maria, I'll take it first if you'd like.
Okay. Yeah. Go.
So, first of all, some of the best hot takes that we have on how to manage your business, we've posted to our Instagram pages. So you can follow me at Jonathan M. Spears. And I would just dig into some of those things because I started off as a sole agent and I spent my first 6 years of my career by myself before I ever even hired my first assistant. And so the thing that I would speak to a sole agent right now is if you find yourself doing tasks that are tying you down from your dollar productive activities, which are the direct activities that lead to sales, it's time for you to start to branch out and look for an assistant. And then I remember when I hired my first assistant, then the room felt less noisy, but I was more comfortable in the noise. I was more comfortable, being the guy. I felt productive, and really what I was feeling was busyness. And so I would highly recommend audit your schedule and identify what is busyness versus what is actually productive, and start to make micro movements to balance yourself out. And I think if you're a sole agent and you go, you know what, it's just me and I want it to stay just me, that's great. Systemize how you do things so that you can do them optimally, so that you're not running over here and responding over there. It becomes a very reactive business as opposed to you want to be proactive. You want to be able to have that space, have that time. Where I sat in my office, I remember very clearly I had joined Sotheby's in 2015, and I left a very reactive role where I was taking phone calls, which were ultimately lead calls from my prior brokerage. And most of them were investors, and they were calling on foreclosures. And I got out of that, and I said, I'm focusing on luxury real estate. I sat in that office, and like even today, I can still hear this. It was like this outside their office, they had these like wild chickens running around, literally, and they were like making all this noise. And I'm like, this is like, what am I doing? Why my phone's not ringing? I started to get anxiety about it. And that anxiety's never left me, because what it said is, Jonathan, you better pick up that phone, identify your farm market, and get to work. Don't wait for business to come to you.
And one thing I want to kind of dovetail off of what Jonathan said is I think a lot of times in real estate, and speaking from being a solo agent or running a team, we get very into our brand and our marketing and all those great things. But what I want you guys to remember is that your systems and processes are your brand. Because if you're a solo agent and you don't have a consistency with what you do when you bring on a new listing or when you bring on a new buyer, you're not going to be giving the consistency across the board with your clientele. So what does that really speak about you and your brand? People have no idea because, again, you're being very reactive to whatever's coming your way. So that's why I do not wait to start creating systems and processes when you're ready to start a team. Do it now, because then once your business does grow, because it will grow, you can now plug people in and they can immediately know what they need to do versus you having to slow down to speed up. It will save you so much time. And then another thing to think about this too is like, you want to be able to have a business that you can eventually pass off to a family member or your children. If you aren't tracking all of your business in a centralized spot and you go to pass your business off one day, you don't have a business to pass off. So just remember, like, having that in your early stages, no matter if you just started in real estate or you're 15 years in, today is the day to start, and it will truly change your business for the better.
Maria, just give us a handful of KPIs, right? These are the performance pieces that we look
Yeah.
for. And for us, it's like, what are we doing to track? Like, what does that look like? Give the audience some of your favorite pieces of information, just the very basic ones that we try to look at every day that matter to our sellers, they matter to our buyers.
Yeah, so I would say one KPI that I personally think is incredibly helpful is knowing where your business came from. So I was at a speaking engagement for Jonathan in Miami, and there was a large agent on stage, and somebody in the crowd asked, "Hey, how much of your business comes from social media?" That agent responded and said, "I don't track that, but I know that a lot of my business comes from social media." And I was like, what? I was like, you could be spending thousands and thousands of dollars on social media and you have no idea if that's giving you a return on your investment. So I would say my favorite KPI is tracking where your business is coming from and then being able to look back and say, okay, 50% of my business came from internet leads and 50% came from SOI. Okay, I'm going to invest more into my internet leads because it's giving me a return. And then I'm going to make sure that I'm doing handwritten letters for the next 3 months because my SOI is really working for me. So tracking where your business is coming from and then checking on that continually and then making decisions according to that is incredibly important.
I love that. Maria, let's double click a little bit here. I'm getting a couple of questions in the
Yeah.
Q&A around the specific systems that you guys have chosen for lead generation and marketing.
Yeah.
Can you give us just the top level breakdown? Where are you spending your lead generation dollars and energy? Are you sending physical mail? Are you doing all digital? Is this an events-based business? Give us the breakdown of the system that you're using to generate the leads necessary to power this business.
Yeah. So what's really crazy, and I want this to be a huge takeaway for everyone, is everyone thinks to be able to get leads, you have to spend a ton of money. We love to run lean and mean because we've seen that it works in our favor. So when it comes to our lead generation, I'm going to give you a quick breakdown of where it comes from. So from the very top, our internet leads through Luxury Presence have been incredible. And that is all through just our own marketing efforts of driving people to our website. So we drive people to our website. We have the automatic pop-up block. So it forces people to sign in. We immediately get that contact information and then can act on it immediately to try to convert. So, I mean, just to give a quick example of some of our conversions with our internet leads this year, we just closed on a $2.5 million listing that the lead came in about 4 months ago. Jonathan just double ended a huge $6.7 million beachfront or one off the Gulf property from an internet lead. So internet leads have been huge. And then in our market, we have signage that we can put really big in front of our properties. So if you have no limits on the types of signs you can put, definitely go as big as possible. And we put QR codes on there. And when you scan those QR codes, it sends a text message that gets dispersed out to our team. And we're between internet leads and those QR code scans, we're generating anywhere from like 20 to 30 proactive our own leads that we've generated that we're able to disperse out. So those
Mm,
are two things that, like, yes, you invest in your website and yes, you invest in those signs, but those are things you're already doing for your business. So take those expenses that you already have on your P&L and how can you generate leads from that? So those have been
hmm
two of our biggest marketing drivers. And then we're very big on public relations as well. So Jonathan mentioned this earlier, but we have coined our area the Hamptons of the South. We live on 30A, Florida, which is a 26-mile strip of beaches that's comprised of 16 coastal beach towns. So it kind of has a very similar vibe to the Hamptons. If anyone's from the Hamptons on this call, they always get mad when I say that, but you just got to come here to experience it. But we saw an
It's
opportunity.
like the Hamptons with Bahamian water. You can see the
Yes.
beach
mm,
behind
Yeah, you
Maria.
can see right here.
yeah.
But we realized we were like, let's brand this area as it's exploding and more people are coming here. And because we made ourselves the authority on 30A and branded it, we were able to generate so many people to our brand at Spears Group that then turned to business. And anybody on this call can do it for their area. It doesn't matter if you're in a small city in Kansas or you're in New York City. Figure out how you can become the tourism authority for your area and generate business back to you that can turn into new clients.
Jonathan, I want to popcorn over to you here. We're getting some follow-up questions around some of that organic driving of traffic to your Luxury Presence website. You're a big social media guy. I see you out there, out and about. I see you as a part of earned and owned media
Yeah.
in a lot of different places. For somebody who is either struggling to kind of break through that first level of driving traffic to their website, or somebody who just wants to take the traffic that they have right now and start to increase it so they can see the return on that conversion rate. Is there a system? Is there a consistent level of effort or application of process that you found is helpful for those folks who are looking to break into driving more of that organic traffic?
Definitely. But let me just say this. What works for me may not always work for you. And I'll always tell my team where they gravitate is what they're going to cultivate. And the best place for everybody on this call to gravitate towards is where your natural interests are. Like some people may be super like just hyped to work with military buyers. If you're hyped to work with military buyers, you need to start spending time on base. You need to figure out who's coming and going. How can I connect in the community? If you're hyped about luxury real estate, for example, we serve 30A. Maria said it's a 26-mile stretch of beach. Anytime I hear a new agent come into the market, I go, where are you going to work? I'm going to work 30A. And I'm like, okay, great. There's probably tens of thousands of people on 30A. Where are you going to start? And they look at me like I've got three eyeballs. I tell my team, I'm like, a deer in the headlights is going to get hit. So you better get to work, get to moving. So the biggest thing, if you're an agent and you don't know where to start, pick a small area, maybe like one or two streets where you can start to understand the who is transacting in the market and the whys. Why did they transact? If you're going to talk to the media, and by the way, I'm a grassroots media person. I've never ever paid for media placement a day in my life. I've never paid for social media ads. I've never paid for any type of like followers or anything like that. I want it to be organic because I know the organic traction is where we're going to get the most authenticity. It's really the same thing as you approach your business. The more you act like yourself, the more that you're going to see people that gravitate towards that because that's what's special. So,
Mm.
just in hindsight and to try to like circle this up, being the mayor of your market is more about picking a specific geography and just obsessing over it. People always say, "What's the key to your success, Jonathan?" And I look at them and I'm like, "Listen, I obsess over what I do. I just love it." And you know what technology is never going to tell? It's never going to be able to tell you the stories of the market. It's never going to be able
Mm.
to articulate to you the values of why did somebody buy that beachfront house, or why is somebody accumulating a $250 million parcel in Palm Beach, right? Like the most recent Wall Street Journal article. There's a story there, and those agents in the market that understand that story, they're going to be the big value providers when they get in front of a special buyer or seller that's looking for value.
Let's talk a little bit about the systems that the two of you, excuse me, not the systems. Let's talk about the platforms that the two of you and the Spears Group
Ooh, this
use
is fun.
to cultivate their systems. Now, I don't want to get ahead of ourselves. I want to give our audience a sneak preview of a really exciting project that you guys are working on. But before we do that, let's talk about the systems that are available right now that people can use to build their business. Maria, do people have to invest $2,000 a month in some sort of super fancy, sophisticated project management system in order to build the systems to power a real estate business?
Absolutely not. You can ask Jonathan. I'm he says he doesn't like looking at the finances. That's like my favorite thing to do. And I'm a big believer in that you don't need to throw money at problems. You just need to be efficient and figure out how you can operate with what you have. So I think a lot of times we think, oh, let's invest in this and that. But really just figure out like what's those main core things. And I think in terms of, we'll talk about what Jonathan and I are working on, but for immediate access now, okay, what's that CRM? We're with Compass, so we use Compass's internal CRM, kind of similar to like a follow-up boss or really any real estate CRM. You could even use something like Pipe Drive, which is only like $25 a month. But it's a place where you can track your contacts and you can track how often you're speaking to people. So at a very minimum, get that CRM organized and in place. And then from a communications lens, I'm a really big person on Slack because I think a lot of times we'll put a lot of stuff in text messages. And then as your team grows, it can become difficult to keep up with that. So being able to have a centralized place to communicate is really great, even if it's just two people on your team. It just helps keep things professionalized and all in one place.
Mm.
So I think those are kind of like your two baseline starts. And then
Hmm.
we'll, of course, talk a little bit more about how we've figured out a way to bring everything into one so we're not all lost in the G Suite world.
Yeah. But from a really base level, I love what you're saying here that what we don't need to do is invest in tools for the sake of tools. We need to invest in platforms for the sake of solutions. So if you need a solution for managing your relationships, a basic CRM that has the
Mhm.
functionality that you need is exactly what you need. I mean, if you just need a spreadsheet to be able to track the spend that that your team has for direct mail or for events marketing, a basic spreadsheet is all you need. You're investing in a place to put the process, not in a name brand for the sake of investing in a name brand. But Jonathan, I'd like to follow up a little bit here with you because as somebody who spends most of his time selling and not as much of your time in the back end like Maria does, help me understand and help the audience understand a little bit the benefit that you feel from the muscle memory that develops by use of these systems. Does it give you more confidence? Do you feel like you are quicker with the right answer to people's questions? What are the benefits that you feel from these sorts of system investments?
Well, I think the greatest commodity that we have is time. You know, if I said that I was an overachiever because I started college at 14, it was just simply because I want to buy more time. You know, I saw opportunity and I took it. And I think for all of us on this call, we have something that is expiring every second. So how can I do more with less? And that goes back to not being a great micromanager. You know, the greatest micromanagers are the ones that don't get that much done. They may get one thing done really stinking well, but for me, like I've got to get a million things done at once. And that's really the only time that I feel productive. So as far as like the wind in my sails, if I didn't have an organizational team behind me, I would not be standing here talking to you guys. I would not be as successful as I am. To sit here and say that I'm the center of the universe at Spears Group is just not true. And that was intentional. I wanted to make sure that I had a brand that I could build, that other people could open up the door and just have opportunities to be themselves and have opportunities to go out and get listings that they may not have gotten before. And so that's been really my core focus as far as brand building. And then having systems and processes in place that would accelerate. Like I always tell Maria, I'm like, oh my gosh, where were you when I was 18 and I was getting into this business? And I wish I had somebody like myself who was younger and successful that I could have looked up to and who would have told me, hey, it's not about the fancy car. It's not about the watch. It's not about the clothes. It's not about the TV shows. It's not about any of that. It's about connecting with people and building great relationships. And so that's what I am freed up to focus on day in, day out. Our mission statement at Spears Group is to build lifelong relationships and create raving fans. And if you're a salesperson on this call, it's less about the sale and it's more about the people. And the more time that I can spend with the people that I care about and the folks that trust me with a fiduciary for their purchase or their sale, that is my goal.
Let's go. We're going to spend some time talking about the platform that you guys are developing. But before we get there, let's do a quick rapid fire round. I'm going to name off some common process challenges for real estate professionals. And I'd love for the two of you can fight over who gets to answer. I'd love for the two of you to give me some quick rapid fire answers to the processes that you've developed to help solve for these problems. Okay. Number one, I've got a new buyer lead that comes in the website. What's the first thing that happens to make sure that person gets the attention they need?
Yeah, so the
Go, Maria.
very first thing we do is that lead is distributed to an agent. They have to respond within 3 minutes to make sure that they got it. They call that person. Whether or not they answer or don't, they immediately put it into the CRM. They tag me so I know that that lead was entered. And now we're able at any time to go back and look and see how many leads that we've gotten that week and where the lead came from. So it's distributed immediately and it's tracked immediately. So we can always go back and look at what we need to do with that person to make sure we can convert them.
Next, we've got a seller who has decided, yes, I'm ready to be pitched with a listing presentation. What's the first thing that happens?
First thing that happens is you set an appointment, right? On my end. So here's the other thing. For anybody listening, your goal isn't just to get in front of people, it's to set in-person appointments. I'm my best when I'm physically with them. And if worst case, I got to be here, I want to do it face-to-face like we're interacting today. Next step is I get directly with my assistant and I say, hey, we got to build out a pitch that's bespoke and specific to these folks. However, Maria and our entire marketing team have taken the time, and I'm sure like a lot of you, we have a preloaded marketing deck that's very specific to Spears Group and the success formula that we have. And so I'm going to go and grab that and I'm just going to be rapid fire. I'm prepared at 24/7. If you called me today and you said, hey, I need to meet with you, by 5 o'clock, I'm prepared as long as I've got time in my schedule. If not, I'm going to defer that to one of my agents.
And it probably takes 5 minutes to do that
5 minutes.
marketing presentation. It's completely plug and play. We just had an agent join our team this week, had a listing appointment the very next day after onboarding, and he had everything done in 5 minutes and was ready to go.
Okay. Next, we just had a closing. The client was happy. I want to make sure that that client becomes either a repeat client or a referral source. What do I do next?
Do you want
Maria,
me
you
to?
want to go? I mean,
Well,
I'm gonna say follow up, follow through, follow back. I mean, look, I literally just dropped one of my clients, just a very, very thoughtful client gift. And she left me a voicemail yesterday crying on the phone. And her dog had passed away. I can't find, I got too many photos. But it's just the little things, these little details. And when I tell you guys, like, I'm managing, we've got 130 active listings in our MLS, just about. We've got hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars of inventory. It doesn't seem like we have the time to make everybody in the room feel like they're the only person in the room. But that is my number one goal when I wake up. Every conversation, every interaction, I want somebody to feel like they've got our full attention, and our processes are the things that allow us to do that at scale.
Would you say that is it fair to say that the Spears Group has either a written or unwritten playbook for just about every real estate scenario that your business could face?
we have it all written out. So, to Jonathan's point, the reason he'll never forget to be able to do those thoughtful things is because we have a checklist for every time you take a
That's right.
listing live and every time you go under contract. And I think it was at the conference that we were at, Jonathan, when we were hearing from the author
Yeah.
about unreasonable hospitality. You can yes, which
He's
if you guys
amazing.
haven't read that book, it's an incredible book. But you can build processes to make people feel special. And it does, again, it does not mean that I need to go out and spend thousands of dollars on a
Correct.
closing gift. It could be as simple as sending an orchid with a handwritten letter and just letting that person know how much you appreciate them. And one, it's easy to do. And then two, because I have it in my checklist, I'm not going to forget to do it. And I'm going to do it for every single client I work with. So when that client goes and talks to another person, they're going to say, you know what? I remember when Maria sent me that orchid just out of the blue one day, and she made me feel special. Because remember, it's always about how you make people feel. That's what they're going to remember.
So let's round this conversation out. Maria, Jonathan, I want to give you guys 2 minutes before we get to our final section today to talk a little bit about the platform that you're building to help bring all of these systems together under one kind of back office roof. Will you give us just a few details on what you're working on?
Absolutely. Maria, I want you to take this off.
So, you guys have heard me say a lot about when I came on to Spears Group, I was trying to figure out a way to merge my brain with an agent's brain. And I kept finding that the processes that I would build out, whether it was on Google Docs or Sheets or a Google site, it worked great for me and I loved it, but was having a really hard time getting our agents to buy into it. And finally, one day, Jonathan and I just sat down and we were like, how can we figure out a solution to where our agents will follow the systems and processes we need and also be able to get our information in real time when we're out in the world dealing with clients. So we sat down, met with a software developer, and we created a brand new real estate operations backend system called MyOps. And MyOps will basically give you the solutions that you need to be able to run as a solo agent and as to run as a team for all your day-to-day systems and processes. So from at your simplest form, it's all AI enabled. You could be at a gate with a client breathing down your back and you type into the AI chatbot, what's the access instructions to 123 Main Street? Immediately there versus you scrambling in your text or the MLS trying to remember what it is. And then its most complex form, it's analyzing all of the data on your business whenever you bring something live or put it under contract. So at a moment's notice, you could know, okay, I have converted 10 leads this year and I've made $50,000 off it. I've given 30 to my brokerage and I've spent this much on marketing. So it's able to give you all of this real-time data in one place. And it's really taking the power of where our industry is going with AI and putting it into action.
Yeah,
Now,
my or
go ahead,
you know,
Jonathan.
my perspective is we basically took the systems and processes that I was doing inevitably. I wasn't auditing necessarily what I was doing at the time, but we took 2 or 3 years to develop this. And basically the juice that makes Spears Group so special, the back end operations. That's what we're trying to export to everybody. We see the opportunity to be able to take real estate agents from the hobbyist mindset to a professional very easily without them having to go and figure out, okay, how do I build organization and what does this actually look like? I want you to be able to open up your MyOps page and for your entire P&L to be there, even if you've never had a P&L in your life. You know exactly what you're earning, exactly what's happening in your business so that you can respond to it in a way that allows you to scale and grow. The other piece is we saw the reason we didn't do this sooner is we didn't have the technology yet. The way that AI is not only transforming our business, but will continue to transform our business, we wanted to empower real estate agents in the industry to be ahead of the curve. Most agents fear AI. They're all scared about what's it going to do? Is it going to take my job? Is it going to cold call my clients and sound more professional than me? Or maybe it's going to have like an exotic voice and, take away, what makes me special. And I'm always like, listen, instead of being fearful, get so curious. Be curious about AI. And that's what led to MyOps, our curiosity, my curiosity, Maria's curiosity, and just our ability to say we can create something so special here that we can put in the hands of everyone and allow them to scale their business in the same way that we have.
Now,
And
oh,
Chris, oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, it's okay. What were you going to say?
I was just going to say one thing I wanted to kind of add to that as well is you noted earlier where it feels like sometimes when you talk to somebody like a Jonathan or myself, it feels like, oh, that's unobtainable. I can't get my business there. That's going to be too difficult to be able to create. That's really what inspired Jonathan and I to do what we are doing, is because we see that this industry has so much room to be able to run like Fortune 500 companies versus just like
Absolutely.
hobbyists. We all have the ability to be well-oiled machines, and it's obtainable for all of us. So it really came out of a passion of wanting to professionalize the industry and stop kind of having these situations where we're giving kind of false advice on how to grow your business. Because
Mhm.
I think a lot of times you hear agents talk and they're like, hey, here's a $5,000 way to make passive income. And you're like, no, just like tell me what I need to do on a day-to-day basis to be able to grow my business. Like, let's get real and figure out what are those day-to-day tasks that are going to help me be able to earn more money for my family and stay in this industry long term.
So that's actually a perfect segue for me because while MyOps isn't available to the public yet, this is a platform that you're going to make available eventually to folks. What is available right now, though, are the solutions that Luxury Presence offers. Because, as you were talking about the work that you are doing to operate your business, and I'm thinking back to the part of our conversation around the roadblock that a lot of especially solo agents but even teams run into, that there's only so many hours in the day, that if all of your time is eaten up by executing on time sensitive tasks, you limit the amount of growth that you can achieve. But Luxury Presence is in the business of trying to take some of that work off of your plate so that you can spend time doing the things that will build and scale your business. Laura, I want to bring you into the chat here. Tell us from your perspective a little bit about what Luxury Presence is working on and how we can continue to help solve some of these problems for agents.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you all for being here. And thank you, Maria and Jonathan. I think just reading the comments throughout this, people are really, really excited and really excited to go like lead this call and create some systems for themselves. So thank you guys so much. I feel like there are kind of two main themes that are happening in this conversation. There's one about authenticity and trusting who you are, and one about how do we take that authenticity and subscribe it to our goals. So we know that Jonathan Spears is an energizer bunny of real estate, right? He's got endless energy and a huge drive to go, 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 and to be with his clients. And we know Maria is a computer, right? She creates systems, she creates tasks, and the way that their business has grown is that they found each other, right? But Jonathan also had a goal from age, I don't know, 0 to build a huge business and a huge team for himself. And so when we're working with clients, not everyone wants to be Jonathan Spears. Not everyone wants to be Maria, right? A lot of our clients are like, I started in this industry. I love helping people. I just want to help people. I don't want to do all of this other stuff, right? And then we have other people that are like, I love making content. I hate sitting open houses. I am so scared to do that, right? And what Jonathan and Maria are saying is follow that through line of what brought you here and where you want to go, right? And then if your goal is not to create a huge team and you don't have the desire or money to invest in, hiring a COO or hiring all these things, is what are the things that that you are not going to be able to do that you can hand off? And that's really where, like, when I'm having conversations with potential clients, Chris, can you let me share my screen, please? It's all about what are you good at and what can you hand off, and then also, like, what are your goals, right? So if you don't know this already, Luxury Presence is a website company, right? We help agents tell the story of their brand online. And as we go up in our packages, it's the higher we go up in our packages, the more marketing work our team is doing, right? So my conversation always is, where are you right now? Where do you want to be? And what are you doing to get there? And how can we step in, right? So if the first thing is, I've built all my business from my referrals and I've just been using my brokerage page. Every time someone gets referred to you and they go to your brokerage page, there is a 90% chance that if they click on a button, they are going to someone else, right? So the first step is, how do you create like an online office for your business? How do you control the narrative of what people are seeing online, and how do we capture them, right? And then from there, it's like, how much marketing work do we want to do? If your whole business is, I just want to work with my sphere and my referrals and my past clients, then you need a solid Google presence, right? You need to make sure that when someone is getting referred to you, that they are going to find you and they are going to find what you want them to find, right? So in terms of what we do, it's website, it is Google presence. And then from there, we do things like run ads for you if you want to generate more leads. We do SEO work, all kind of long-term stuff. And if you guys want to meet and talk about that, we can certainly do that. I'm going to show you guys a thing at the end with some incentives if you do decide to meet with us from this panel. But we're trying to figure out, like, is your goal to work with referrals? Let's figure out your Google presence. Let's figure out your web presence. And then you go create a system for your contact with your clients, reaching out to your sphere, all that kind of stuff, right? A lot of people were asking in the chat, how do we bring organic traffic to a website? If you're on level 1 or 2, we're not running ads for you. So what can you do? Let's go back to that first thing. Where is your authenticity? Are you the kind of person that loves meeting people? Then make sure you schedule an hour at a coffee shop every 2 or 3 days a week. Do open houses as much as possible. If you love creating content and seeing your beautiful face on Instagram, then schedule out a time in your week to create content. If are making really cool business cards and handing them out, make sure your website is on it. Make sure that when you are a client of ours or a client of some kind of thing, that you're sending listing alerts from your website. The more energy you put into the website and to your presence online, the more is going to come out of it, right? So the marketing that you're already doing, whether that be paid marketing and you're on a billboard and buses around town, or free marketing, right? Free being your time, social media, meeting people, all that kind of stuff. You're already doing a lot of things. It's how can we use your online presence to be the stickier landing place for that marketing that you're already doing? I'm just making sure I'm covering all these like amazing things you guys said. So delegating, right? Where do you guys hand things off, whether that be to a Maria or to some sort of marketing company like ours? What sparks you? Organic traffic. Okay, I think that's good. Oh, hi, Carolina Kramer. Okay, I want to just wrap this up quickly by hopefully, I know I didn't show you much websites, but you guys can look at websites. We do have a really great incentive if you guys are not clients of ours and would like to be. I think this is animated, why I'm not showing. Okay. If you guys scan this QR code, you can schedule time to meet with me or someone from my team. We are running some end of quarter incentives, which means that if you sign up by the end of day Monday, you'll get $1,000 off your setup fee. And then if you don't have time the next 2 business days, you can schedule time with us until July 15th and get $500 off of your setup fee. For any current clients that are looking to upgrade their account, we will be waiving the setup fee on our white label telephone app called Presence Copilot. Here's a nice visual of no, that's not a nice visual of that. That is a nice visual of that app. But here with this QR code, you can book time to meet with us. I think that that's just enough time. It's 11.
Laura, appreciate it. Guys, I think the bottom line for me, and I'll be totally straight with everybody that's here. I spent a long time before I joined Luxury Presence in the prop tech space. I used to write about prop tech companies. I used to be the person who reviewed CRMs and website companies. I used to spend a lot of time thinking about the technology solutions to real estate problems. And ultimately, I decided to join Luxury Presence because they were the company that over and over I could be the most confident that if somebody clicked through one of my recommendations and actually signed up for their services, that they were going to deliver on the promises that they made. And it was so consistent with the promises that we make as real estate professionals. We make these promises to our clients too. The best agents are the ones that can most consistently deliver on the promises they make to their clients. And Jonathan and Maria, to your points earlier, the best agents who are most equipped to deliver on the promises are the ones who have systems in place that can support that consistent success. Guys, we are at time here. I want to give both Jonathan and Maria the last word. Jonathan, let's start with you. In a couple of sentences, how are you feeling about real estate for the end of 2025 and beyond? Tell us your outlook on the market and what you're looking forward to.
I think there's so much opportunity. And let me tell you why. The most volatile markets provide the biggest opportunity for a shakeup and to take market share. So, what your clients are going to be looking for throughout the rest of the year is leadership. This doesn't mean overpromise, underdeliver, which was a playbook that almost everybody had going into like the COVID markets. It was like, yeah, let's try, let's see. Now find the data, dig into your business, and figure out how, especially if you've got some extra time on your hands, how can you professionalize yourself? Take yourself from the hobbyist to the professional, and make sure to go sign up at myops.ai. We're going to be releasing this tool for everybody later this summer. And we want to make sure that we can connect with you personally and just give you the playbook that we've had that's made us so successful.
Maria, what are you thinking about for the rest of 2025 and beyond when it comes to real estate? Give us your outlook.
Yeah, I mean, I think Jonathan hit the nail on the head is regardless of whether we're in a booming market or a market that maybe feels stagnant, what we're doing on a day-to-day basis does not change. And I think that's the overarching thing that I want everybody to walk away from this is no matter where you're at in your industry, don't go in the highs and lows. Just keep that consistency and block out the noise because it's so easy to feed into that versus just staying focused on what you want to do. And even to Laura's point, talking about her website and making sure that, like, no matter where you go, you're guiding people back to the same spot. Keep that consistency in your business because that's what's really going to drive you forward. And like Jonathan said, like, we'd love to stay connected with you guys. I'm an open book, so please feel free. You can email me. Like Jonathan said, you can go to myops.ai. You can put your contact information in there. Ask me any questions. I geek out over this stuff, and I genuinely am passionate about helping others, specifically in the real estate world. So please lean on me and continue to lean on the resources that Luxury Presence gives as well, because they truly are our number one partner that we work with. We've been so incredibly grateful for everything that they've been able to
Yes.
help us with our business. And so if you can find those people that you work with and help you drive strength, continue to work with those people and, find your Luxury Presences, find your Jonathans, find those people and really grow your community.
And track your business. By the
Yes.
way, a lead that I closed last week I got a $360,000 paycheck. The lead said Luxury Presence originated. 360 grand. No joke. It's amazing. Thank you guys for all you do for us.
It is genuinely our pleasure. Maria, Jonathan, it is a privilege to have you as a part of this conversation. To everyone who is listening and watching, we are so grateful to have you as a part of this community. Luxury Presence is all about supporting real estate professionals so that you have the opportunities, the tools, and the connections that you need to build the business of your dreams. We're at time.
Love it.
Guess what? It's Thursday. It's another opportunity for to do the best work of your career. Have a
Let's
great
go.
rest of the day. Have a great rest of the week. Have a great rest of the month. Have a great rest of the year. And we'll see you next time on the next Luxury Presence panels.